right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all. Happy Tuesday. Let's hope we get a little bit of a turnaround today. That'd be great. In the meantime, we're going to have to do our analysis and get ready for today's economic data. We have building permits and housing starts. We have New Zealand dairy auction results, and just one of the reasons why everybody's really bullish to kiwi. Everybody's looking at. Let me go over to milk really quick. Let me see if I have it here. Milk class 3 futures. I think this is it. Let me double check. Yeah, here's a. See if I can get a 4-hour chart. Let's go over to a line. Now that you can see the recent climb in milk futures. That this right here is not what you're. I don't think that's correct. You can see milk prices have been on the rise, and they've been moving higher, and everybody's assuming that's going to feed into the kiwi, and that's one of the reasons why everybody's like, oh, the New Zealand dollar, the New Zealand dollar continues to squeeze higher. I think it's pre RBNZ moves, pre FOMC, and but anyway, we've got dairy auction results coming out today. We got housing data out of the U.S. So we got a few things happening today that could move the market. It should get really quiet after Europe goes home, though. After Europe goes home, it should be really quiet and consolidate ahead of the FOMC. Like I said, I got stopped out of a couple positions overnight. Really not happy about what had transpired, but it is what it is. It kind of gives me a clear head ahead of the FOMC, if you will. So we're going to start with our analysis on the euro dollar. Oh, and by the way, man, the pound New Zealand. I mean, this is historic, like all-time lows. By the way, we are breaking down into all-time lows. Now, if the Kiwi dollar somehow by the end of the day breaks back above 177, that would be possibly a false breakdown, but you're asking quite a bit ahead of tomorrow's FOMC and RBNZ. I really am. Okay. Okay. So anyway, here's the. Let's go over the euro dollar. So the euro dollar spiked up to 112 or above 112 overnight. Nick said he shorted some on London Calling with Chris Asaro at 112. That was great. I mean, if you got an opportunity to sell it above 112, that was a great short, in my opinion. I mean, you can see exactly what happened. I mean, you're in Europe. A lot of early in Europe, a lot of stops got taken in a lot of different currencies. I mean, and this is no exception. You had the euro dollar really rally back to the 38% retracement, or almost a 50% retracement rather, and so that should remain at 112.15. This should be very, very tough resistance for today. Okay, we'll be right there. You can see we spiked above the 112 level just enough to take some stops, and I don't know if those levels are going to be seen again today. Again, it's one of those situations that if you weren't around and you weren't awake in Europe to be right in front of the computer at that point, that was just taking out stops and a reversal. All right, so now that risks 111.50 being put back into play. So 111.50, resistance 112.15, and we have a bearish bias. No. Are we still in a range? Shit, I can't remember. Probably have to keep it still in a range. We'll just keep it in a range. It's the pound that's bearish. So obviously the cable just getting destroyed. Now if you look at the pound dollar, first and foremost, let's kind of take a step back for a second and look at what we drew yesterday and kind of realize what's happening right now. So this is a bear flag formation. Yesterday we drew from here. Hey, if you get a rally up to 38% retracement, it's probably going to be a good short. You guys, might have remembered that yesterday. We actually hit the 38% retracement and reversed, and we reversed hard. Not only did we reverse, but we reversed hard from yesterday. So what's interesting about that now is you have to actually take the flag, move it over here, the pole. Here's the flag itself. It looks like this, right? So let's get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. Okay. And if you can see where the flag points, the flag actually to complete points to 128.30. Now, I know you're going, oh my God, 128.30. That's gonna take us almost to historic lows. It's possible. Now we're stopping, shy of a pretty strong trend line, which I think is going to come into play, which is 129.40. Guys, if we break 129.40, it's going to get ugly. I mean, you might think it's ugly now, but it can get really ugly. If we start breaking through this, 127% extension, you got trend line support. We break through that. I'm gonna write down 129.40. 29.40. We break that. Got to be really careful. I've seen a lot of strange things happen ahead of big events. Tomorrow's a big event. You have the FOMC that's meeting. No one's expecting rates to be hiked, but if you look at the dollar against some of these currencies, it's hard to think that. I think there's a lot of nervousness about tomorrow's meeting, frankly. Resistance is 131. I know a lot of you guys that are long the cable right now would probably give an arm and a leg to get back to 131, but fact of the matter is, this thing's bearish. It is bearish. I guess I can write down first level resistance is going to be 130. I mean, I'm sure some late comers are probably, or people that are stuck short the pound right now, or long the pound, are probably like, man, if I could just get back to 130, I'd be happy. And that is previous support, so that may act as resistance on the way back up. All right, let's look at the Swissy. So the Swissy, still, not a lot going on here. We have, obviously key resistance comes up here, but I don't know if that's going to be tested today. I think it's more likely that we make a move back down to 97. What was that, 97.50? Maybe 97.40, which would be the 618. Be a retest of this broken trend line. So 97.40, it's probably not a bad play if you want to establish longs ahead of the FOMC. I don't know if that's necessarily the right decision, but it's a thought. Resistance right now is going to be 98.20, 98.20, and then 98.50. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Oops, 98.50, which is major. We are in a range. Okay, let's go over to the dollar yen. So the dollar yen, I still have a small dollar yen long. We got the Bank of Japan tonight. It's hard to see the BOJ get too aggressive ahead of the FOMC, but a lot of people are expecting the BOJ to do something tonight. I personally think expectations should be fairly low for the BOJ to act. They probably are going to be waiting more for the Fed, but I think the levels that we should watch right now. Here, let's get rid of that for a second. Well, actually, no, let's remove that. Okay, I think the prices that we should watch right now are 101, 101.20, and I would say 102.50 because this trend line isn't perfect by any stretch of the means. That's the channel, by the way, right? Channel, and this line might be, could be here, could be there, could be there. I mean, I have it drawn right there, but that doesn't mean anything. But just all it means is it's really just, its resistance is coming up here, and it should be fairly strong. Okay, so 102.50, 101.20 ahead of the BOJ were mid-range, which is not surprising at all. So 102.50, 101.20, and we're still in a bearish trend. We have to break above probably like 103.50 to really switch this thing out to neutral. But I've been playing a small dollar long on the dollar yen just to try to get a counter trend position established. But again, it may be like a hopeless cause at this stage. I really, like I said, to get really bullish, we need to see moves up here to really start to turn the tide, if you will. Here's the Canadian. Now, the Canadian, this pair is extremely strong. I have to agree with Paul. This thing, I mean, here, let me get rid of this because this flag hasn't played out. I think we could pretty much give up on that one. But you look at this Canadian, man, this thing is rocking right up towards the highs. I mean, how many stops right now reside above the highs at 132.50 in the dollar Canadian? Think about it. I mean, how many people are shorting this damn thing right now thinking, all right, there's no friggin' way. No way. No way we're going to get above here. No way. We're going to get above 132.50. 132.55 actually. Just like the Kiwi taking stops ahead of the RBNZ, why couldn't the dollar Canadian take highs above the 132.55 level? I mean, you look at currencies like the New Zealand Canadian, which, by the way, I'm not short anymore. I got stopped out overnight. Okay, I took a loss on this. But you look at this thing. This is at all-time highs. But look at that. You look at the Aussie Canadian. This thing still has some distance to go. But if we start breaking through some of this resistance, I mean, that could be pretty big. What's to say that these Canadian pairs just cannot, can't just make a massive run? Let's go to the Euro Canadian. Look at the Euro Canadian, which I was long right there. Such a bozo. I mean, look at the Euro Canadian. Man, this thing looks extremely bullish. And that's the Euro Canadian. pound Canadian probably doesn't even look too bad. Oh, the pound Canadian's actually holding up relatively well, despite all the pound weakness. That right there just shows you how weak the Canadian currency is. So when you go to the dollar Canadian, it's like, okay, if you're short, man, this is dangerous. Look at how aggressively the lows were bought yesterday. We dipped down to 130, 135, and we rallied back and left a huge, huge. Well, it's a hanging man because it's the red body, but that's a long wick. Any which way you slice it, there's people trapped down there on the short side. So, in my opinion, a topside break is not out of the question. All right, support still huge down here at 131.20, still huge. And I know we went as low as 35 yesterday, but we didn't quite make it there. But 131.20. We're in a range, but we're threatening to go bullish. All right, let's go over to the Kiwi. Now the Kiwi, this damn thing is it's so frustrating. I mean, you see what we're doing here on the Kiwi. All we're doing is we're back testing this trend line. Again, my trend lines aren't perfect, nor are anybody's. You can go like that, and you can see that we fortified a high there, fortified a high here. So we're out basically testing the 50% retracement. There's here, if I can draw it for you. You got there, 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 there. Right? So all we're doing is we just keep back testing this trend line. Resistance, what was the spike high right there? 73.63. It's doable. I'm just going to write down 73.60. Okay, I know I've been putting bearish. I still think it's bearish, but and that's not me being stubborn, although I did get stopped out of some Kiwi shorts. That is just the fact that we've broken through this what I consider a major trend line. It's like the summer trend line. All we're doing is we just keep back testing it. But unfortunately, it's not getting any bearish follow through just yet. So right now, for support, support's going to be this 72.90. All right, guys, when I come back, we'll do the Aussie dollar index, peso, which peso is freaking out of control, Swedish krona, Norwegian krona. I'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Whoops. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. We're going to continue on with the Aussie dollar. This is the Aussie right now, and we're approaching, obviously, resistance that we wrote down yesterday. Excuse me, yesterday. I think we wrote down yesterday. I think we wrote down 75, which, if you look at this channel, I think it's still the same, 75. And support is the channel low, which actually might be a little higher now, maybe 75.10. And that's it. The Aussie is pretty simple. It's just been bouncing around. I think there's a couple of different forces that are driving it right now. After the RBA monetary policy meeting minutes didn't really disclose anything that we didn't know. The house price index did come in a little weaker than expected overnight. So anyway, the Aussie's just been bouncing around. 75.10 to 75.75. Right, and then that is going to be in a range still, because we're caught in between that, in the apex of this triangle. Okay, we're actually almost smack dab in the middle of the triangle right now, back into it. Because if you take the top end of the triangle, which is at 77, the lower end of the triangle is 74. Let's just call it 74. I don't know, 30 or 50 or so. And we're just right back into the middle here. See us right there, right in the middle. Okay, so not a lot to do with the Aussie just yet. Let's go to the dollar index. So the dollar index yesterday, this is actually going back to yesterday, 38% retracement. We came down, tagged it, bounced. Overnight in Europe, came down and tagged the 50% retracement. So you look at the 50% retracement, that was hit. Probe below and then right back up again. So I'll write down 95.60 now, but still you can see we're pretty well supported right at this point. 95.60. Resistance obviously is, well, any move up to 96.20. I don't think we're going there today, but you never know. You never know. And we're still in a range. US dollar Mexican peso. This thing is out of control strong. You can see that yesterday we created a hammer, first of all, on the daily candle. But yesterday, I mean, the dip came right down to the breakout point at 1940, basically 44, bounced right back up again. That's major support. Any which way you slice it, I don't care what you do here. All I have to say is that's major support. Now we're almost sitting on trendline support right now, but that 1940, we're just going to write at 1945 for now. It's close, right, basically right here. That's major support. All right. Now resistance, we'll just mark up at 1977, but we're at a 261% extension of this last move. Hold on. %161% extension of that move. I mean, so I guess what's really important to understand about this is if we break these highs, it's 1977, we're going to 20, probably real fast. Now, I know you can't fathom that that's going to happen, but it's bullish. All right, US dollar and Norwegian krona. We came down to the 825 yesterday, created a hammer or overnight, and then bounced right back. Crazy, huh? I mean, 825 is major support. 832 is resistance. We're in a range. Let's take a look at the Swedish krona. Here's your Swedish. Oh man, look at this. You kidding me? Look at how tight this thing's getting. um, okay, let me redraw a few things. Let's get rid of this inverted head and shoulder pattern. That obviously played out, so let's delete it. Delete, 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 delete. Okay. Now, I think it's safe to say $857.50. It's major. This is in a range, and then the support is 853. Man, this thing's going to break out tomorrow. Obviously, we don't know which direction, but it's going to break out tomorrow. And when this breaks out, it's going to be probably pretty vicious. You know, if there's if there's a hike, like if that slight possibility there's a hike. If there is, that this thing could really just scream higher. Because you have to also realize, here's your daily chart. We're closing in on big resistance here. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but we got to be on. We got to be on, lookout for that. Okay, your bias chart is done, and it's finished. Hans asked, "Am I short the euro pound?" No, I'm not. I was actually short overnight. I got stopped out of that. Fortunately, I kept that position relatively small. But yeah. That stupid euro pound, man, that thing's strong. All right, let's go to questions. Visha says,